Stephanie, and I might butcher your last name. Please I apologize if I do. Okabe Mates or Okabe Mates. You can tell me and correct me when you come on stage. Stephanie sees life as a stage, a platform where she's used all her life experiences to create an incredible career in real estate. She values having friendly, honest, and genuine relationships with her clients, and that's why her clients love her. Ask her how she cultivated her superb negotiation skills, and she'd tell you sometimes negotiating with other agents is easier than negotiating with a 4-year-old. I agree. I have a 4-year-old. If she's not playing Supermom at home, you'll find her playing Supermom. You'll find her on the sidelines playing Supermom, train her children on. So fantastic. And what's Stephanie's favorite hobby? Sewing. A few years ago, she had her own company where she designed and sewed custom-made handbags and baby accessories. Fantastic. And that's also cool information. Well, welcome, Stephanie. Can you please turn your camera and microphone on stage? We would love to hear from you. Welcome, Stephanie, to the stage. Look how beautiful you are today. It's lovely to see you. Good morning.
You too. Thank you for having me. And you did get my name right the first time. So okay, awesome.
Yay, I was good. You never know. And so I love it. Thank you so much again for everything. And do you want to share anything with us before we move on to questions? Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go if you are.
Right. You're right. Hey, everybody in the chat, say welcome. Let's say hello to Stephanie. Give her a good welcome in the chat. Yay. Awesome. Okay. I love it. Everybody's awake. I know you're all awake. You got some coffee, hopefully, and you're all sitting there and you're listening to all this information and you got your pens and papers out. It's awesome. So, Stephanie, could you tell us a little bit about the below market rate ownership program for those of us that don't know what it is?
Absolutely. I actually didn't know about this either until I got into real estate. So I'm glad that we're able to touch on this because it's really important. Not a lot of people know about it. So this is great. So the below market rate ownership program, which is also known as a BMR, is a city-run affordable housing program through the San Francisco Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development Office. And basically what they have done is identify specific units in San Francisco to be sold at below market rate prices. And basically the program was set up to help first-time home buyers who have low, moderate, and middle incomes to become proud homeowners in San Francisco.
That's awesome. So, and very succinctly put. I appreciate the knowledge. It's allergy season here. My apologies. It's allergy season here. And I was like, I don't know if I can press mute before the sneeze comes out. So, well, Stephanie, how does someone qualify? Thank you, Perry. How does someone qualify for this program? How does someone qualify for this below market rate ownership program?
Yeah. So, okay, there's a few things. First of all, you have to be a first-time home buyer, and first-time home buyers kind of in quotes, because technically as long as you haven't owned any residential property anywhere within the last 3 years, you actually qualify. So, and it doesn't just have, it can't, it's not just San Francisco. If you own something in Texas or wherever, just as long as you haven't owned anything within the last 3 years, you still qualify. The second thing is if you have to check your income to make sure your income is eligible. Basically, they take your household's pre-taxed income or your gross income and compare it to the San Francisco area median income, or also known as AMI. And the city will basically, if there's a BMR unit available and for sale, the city will assess it and basically come up with the AMI that will be used for that property. So each unit it kind of varies from unit to unit on which AMI they use, but the mayor's office has a chart on their website that you can reference if you need it. But to give you an example, in 2020, 2021, the city said a unit that will use like 100% AMI, a one-person household cannot make more than $89,650. A two-person household cannot make more than $102,500, and a three-person household cannot make more than $115,300. Okay. So that just kind of gives you an idea of kind of like the price range or the income range that they're talking about.
So that would fall under restrictions and guidelines then. Are there additional restrictions and guidelines as well?
Yeah, there are. So you also have to finish, there's a homeowners or home buyer education that the mayor's office requires you to complete before submitting offers for these BMRs. So it's basically a total of 10 education hours that need to be completed. 2 hours are, the first 2 hours is a free program orientation. And then you would sign up for a 6-hour for with it's through homeownershipsf.org, and basically they have a calendar. The nice thing now is that with COVID, you can do it from home versus having to go in anywhere and doing the 6-hour workshop. So it's kind of nice and convenient now. But you basically just sign up for one of these workshops. They have them in different languages too. And then once you finish that 6 hours, you'll meet one-on-one with a housing counselor from that organization. And that's about the last 2 hours. And that's where they'll review your financial history and determine your eligibility to apply. And they'll kind of help plan and help you budget and make sure you have enough in your savings for the closing costs and down payment. And then the nice thing about working with those counselors is that they're also really familiar with other city programs that might be available too. So like, they have something called DALP, or Down Payment Assistance Loan Program. So they can help you with that. Let's see. And then basically, yeah, I mean, what was mentioned earlier in the other presentations was you always want to keep in mind that most of these BMR units are condos, so they will have HOAs associated with them. And so you want to account for that in your budgeting and everything. But basically, after you finish those 10 hours, you get your certificate and you're good to go for a year. And you can start applying for these BMR listings. And if you don't get into contract within that year, you can always renew. It's just you have to set up a refresher course with, or a meeting with the counselor just to renew for another year.
You're kind of answering the question, which is great. Do you have to get approved by preferred lenders? And then what are the typical loan programs and interest rates?
Yeah. So there's a few more like guidelines and restrictions that I'm hoping
answering that, but you were answering some of that question, so I wanted you to just
I'll answer it all.
You answered it all in one, and I was like, I know that, so I just want to make sure the audience knew that she's
no, we'll definitely get to that because those are all important too. But I think the biggest restriction that people need to know about BMRs is that you cannot rent out your BMR for any reason. This is strictly for your use only. If you get caught, not only will you have to sell your BMR, but you'll also have to pay a hefty fine, because really it's meant to be affordable housing for you to live and work in San Francisco, not to make a quick buck. But and it made the news a couple years ago. I was
gonna say, this may seem like this might have been a problem. So
yeah, exactly. So they've really cracked down on people who are violating and taking advantage of the program. But yeah, no, and also I guess some important information for the getting the certificate is that any members that are over 18 who are living in your household have to complete the workshop. Yeah. So if you have a child who's 18, unfortunately, they would have to sit through the workshop as well with you. And then if you decide that you want to sell your BMR in the future, everything has to go through the Mayor's Office of Housing first. So you would basically request a resale price, and then they will let you know what you can sell your BMR for. And you can't sell it for market rate is what I'm trying to get to. Once it's a BMR, it's always a BMR. So it stays within the system. And then one question that I always get too is about the income requirements. Basically, that income requirement is only during the time of applying or submitting your offer for the BMR. If for some reason, like once you close and it's yours, if you get a raise at your job or you win the lotto or something, that doesn't matter as long as it's just at the time of purchase. So you just have to have those guidelines. Okay, and so
I
getting
was
back
going to
to
say, I
your,
can ask it again if you want to, because I'm sorry for
yeah, no,
jumping
no,
the
I
gun.
remember.
I just heard you answering it, and I was like, oh, she's answering it. But yeah, so my
Yeah,
apologies.
no worries. So with the lender, yes, there is a set of lenders that have been approved by the mayor's office of housing that you must use in order to get your pre-approval. It's just they're familiar with the process and they know all the rules associated with the BMR. So you'll want to check that out. That's all on their on the mayor's office of housing website as well. It has a list of the different lenders with their contact information. And a lot of times people are like, well, what are they going to ask for? What do I need to know? It's basically, I call it the 3, 3, and 3. And basically the lender will, ask, not all the time, but up to 3 months of your most recent bank statements, 3 years of your most recent tax returns, and 3 most recent pay stubs. So that's kind of what you'll be, getting to be giving to the lender to get pre-approved. And then
the other one was the typical programs and the loan rates. So what are the loan rates?
Yeah. So from what I understand, BMR loans are generally in line with or about like 0.125 lower than conventional loan rates. But again, I think it's a great question to ask the lender when you're going through the pre-approval process, just to make sure. And you can call different ones to kind of see, what their rates are.
Well, you've provided so much information. That is phenomenal. But so thank you. And we're going to go to the last question. And we've got some questions in the chat because people are really interested in this program, which is
okay, great.
They said, I understand it's a lottery, but what are the odds now with the larger condo inventory?
Yeah. Okay. So that's the lottery thing is the one thing that I think makes the BMRs kind of interesting because it's not, the seller doesn't pick the buyer like a regular market rate listing. So it basically is a lottery where people who are qualified will submit their applications, and it will basically go into this pool with all the other buyers, and then the city will run a program that like randomly assigns and sorts rankings. And we basically start with lottery winner number 1. And that's where the city will do their post-lottery approval process. And if they verify that everything is true and they're qualified, then we'll move forward with that winner. If not, then they get disqualified and we move on to lottery winner number 2, and so on and so forth. But as far as like as far as it goes for having more condo inventory, it doesn't really apply to BMRs necessarily, just because there's fewer BMRs than there are regular market rate condos out there. But the nice thing about BMRs is that you can apply for multiple BMRs at one time. So if there's like 10 BMRs that are up for sale, you can apply to all 10 at one time, versus a regular market rate where you don't want to get into that kind of situation. You don't want to put in multiple offers. But this way, with BMRs, since it's lottery, you never know what's going to happen. And that way you can kind of increase your chances of getting something. But I guess it just depends on each unit, unit by unit. The less applicants there are, the better chances you have in getting a better number in the lottery. But
definitely,
yeah, it just kind of depends. But as of yesterday, there were 11 listings at the mayor's office. So
that's fantastic.
You just got to keep checking.
Well, there's a couple questions for you in the Q&A. And the first one is, are there programs like this in the East Bay?
I believe there are. You would need to check with the. I'm familiar with San Francisco, but I'm pretty sure if you check with the mayor's office of housing in Oakland or wherever East Bay city you want to be in, I'm pretty sure most cities do provide some sort of program like this.
Phenomenal. I love that. That's whoever asked that question. I hope that you wrote that down and you can check, and fantastic. Next question for you is, do you have to pay the HOA fees for the BMR condos?
Yes, you do. And those are not low market rate. Unfortunately, you would pay the regular HOA fee like everybody else.
But you're saving, so
exactly. It's a trade-off.
It really is.
But and the nice thing too about these BMRs is that they're usually in these mixed income condo buildings, so no one really knows which one's a BMR and which one's not.
Right.
So you could be right next door to $1 million condo, but paying $350,000 for it. So it's a great program.
Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap up with these last 3 questions so that we can move on to our break and go forward. Because more questions keep coming through, so I'm letting everybody know. The next question is, what's the website to get the income limits again?
You would go to the San Francisco Mayor's Office of Housing website, and I don't want to mess it up, but it's basically sfmohcd.org. I think
we can always drop it in the chat for you guys. We'll drop it in the chat for you guys. No worries.
Yes, I'll get it
send it to everybody, or vice versa. So we will not leave you hanging. That was Jenny who asked that.
Okay.
Next question is, on average, how many applicants for each lottery? Do you know how many applicants there are?
It varies from unit to unit. The nicer looking units tend to get more applicants, but I've had ones that only had like 2 applicants, and then I've had BMRs that have had like 65. So it just, it can range.
Okay, great. Good answer. That's still hopeful. So are all BMR programs roughly the same in the Bay Area cities? Do you know the answer to that?
I don't know the answer. Well, I do know some differences, like I believe the one in Oakland, they do not do lottery, but I don't know for sure, but they probably vary from city to city. Okay. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. You were amazing and a wealth of knowledge. I'm pretty sure that everybody here learned something from that, because it was so well explained. We really appreciate all of the time you took to share all of that with us. Can I get a big thank you for her in the chat, you guys? That was a fantastic amount of knowledge that she just shared with everybody. And there's one more question. Dino snuck it over here on the chat. He asked us how soon you can get the lottery results. So,
yeah. So, the city sets an offer date, or they do set the offer date. So there's a date where the offers have to be in by, and then a week later they have the drawing, or the lottery drawing. And basically once they run that program, it's instant. So it's right after they do the lottery, you see your results.
Super quick. Okay, well, that's great to know. Everybody here is cheering you on. They're saying awesome info. They love it. You're getting this. Thank you, Stephanie. It was great information. And thank you. Great information. Thank you. Super informative. So I love it. And we got all those questions answered, which I love. Having an 18-year-old seat. Yep. So awesome.